Hi, my name is Yin Gao and welcome to Dr. Gao's classroom. I'm a professional philosopher and I love classical Chinese poetry. I also have a passion for classical Chinese philosophy. I have been teaching and translating classical Chinese philosophies for many years and poetry for the last few years. I would love to share my knowledge on these subjects with you. Your enjoyment is my command. Today, I might have to break my promise for continue my stories on Chenshen and insert a talk about the Zhuangzi's philosophy. I just need a bit more time to prepare for my talk on Chenshen and the two great generals because there's just too much material to cover. I would continue my story about Chenshen and the two generals next time. So today, I'm going to continue my talk about Zhuangzi's philosophy. Specifically, I'm going to talk about how one could get out of the stressful life Zhuangzi so vividly described in his account of human condition of his days. Our condition today seems only intensify the stress and anxiety that the philosopher experienced during Zhuangzi's time. In my last video, I explained the concept of qi wu, or equalizing all things. If you would like to know what the concept means and how to equalize all things, please watch my second video on Zhuangzi with the title of Equalizing All Things by this link. Here, it is sufficient to say qi wu is an attitude that gave everything an equal footing and re-examine the world from different perspectives. I find this attitude is particularly helpful when dealing with conflicting social norms and values. As you might be aware, young people today have a huge self-image issue, which could cause anxiety, stress, weight problems, eating disorder, and many other problems. The same is true for other age groups to a lesser extent. So when I read Zhuangzi, I realized he had offered us a perfect strategy to protect ourselves from this kind of problem more than 2,000 years ago. So today, I'm going to give you a brief account of what Zhuangzi said about the social norms and values and what sort of attitude could we adopt to protect ourselves and live an enjoyable life. I would also translate a passage from Zhuangzi chapter 2 that specifies this attitude. I would also talk about what I learned from Zhuangzi when dealing with my own image anxiety. If you're new to my channel, please check out my other videos on classical Chinese poetry, philosophies, or medical literature. If you like the content of these videos, please click the like button and subscribe my channel. I also offer one-to-one online lessons on this subject. So if you would like to read original text, please contact me. Here's my email address. Now, let me first explain what I mean by social norms and values. Social norms most times are implicit rules governing social interactions among people, such as how should we treat each other? What sort of behavior are acceptable or unacceptable? What is good or bad, etc. We often grow up with them and take them for granted and probably never question them. For example, we all have a set of standards about what count as beautiful and healthy. Look at these pictures. These are men and women we regarded as beautiful and healthy. They are tall, slim, have perfect symmetrical faces, etc. Of course, there are different standards for men and women. Men are supposed to be masculine, tough, courageous, and successful in their careers, etc. Women are supposed to be feminine, gentle, caring, and devoted to their families, etc. These are the social norms if you grow up in the West. For most time, we simply take these norms for granted. After all, who would not want to be like them? However, when we move from one type of society to another, such norms are often challenged, causing confusion, frustration, even misunderstanding. This is what we call the culture shock. If we make them explicit and think about them, we would be able to resolve the confusions and frustration, and maybe even avoid misunderstanding. When I moved from China to Australia many years ago, my philosophical training made my transition from one culture to another much easier because I was able to work out the implicit social norms and values so that I would avoid many pitfalls experienced by people who move from one culture to another. More importantly, I was able to take advantage of my cross-cultural experience to help my students to increase their culture sensitivity. And this is also my aim today by running this channel, to build a culture bridge between the West and East. Now, let me give you an example of different social norms and values that I find are particularly important between the West and East. Although there are overlapping norms and values between the West and East, there are also specific social norms that are prioritized quite differently between the West and East. For example, individual freedom is highly valued in the West, which means that one should first take care of one's own interest and well-being. It is one's own responsibility to make oneself financially secure for retirement rather than rely on one's children. Of course, many people do help their parents. Even the states would offer financial assistance for people to look after their elderly parents. However, the responsibility to take care of oneself still totally falls on one's own shoulders. While in many other Asian countries, freedom of individuals is not valued as much as in the West. It is quite common that extended family members will help each other, including financial assistance. Asian community often prioritize the value of 孝顺 or filial piety, which is the social norm that one should put one's parents' well-being before one's own interest. Parents often rely on their children to look after them after retired. With the aesthetic values, it is the same. I'm not familiar with the culture from other parts of the world about this except in China and Australia. So if your culture has any specific beauty standard, please let me know in the comment section below. I would love to know what is regarded as beautiful in your culture. The standard for beauty in the West and Asian countries are substantially different. We could just look at these two photos for men to find out the differences. Here's the Australian actor Chris Hemsworth and the South Korean actor Kim Woo-bin. Apparently, the standard for beauty are quite different. The same goes with other social norms in different cultures. Zhuangzi actually went further than this. He challenges our implicit values by pointing out other species would have different norms regarding what is good or bad, what is healthy or unhealthy, and what is beautiful or ugly. Now, let me cite a passage from Zhuangzi chapter 2. Let me read this passage in Chinese first. 民失寝则妖姬偏死，秋然乎哉？暮处则坠立寻据，猿猴然乎哉？三者孰之正处？民食除患，麋鹿食见，急且甘待，吃鸭是属。是者孰之正位？毛强离姬，人之说美也。 鱼见之深入，鸟见之高飞，麋鹿见之绝奏。是者，孰知天下之正色哉？自我观之，隐逸之端，是非之途，幡然小乱，吾能知其变。Now let's look at the first 3 lines. 民思寝则妖姬偏始，秋然乎哉？木处则醉力寻据，猿猴然乎哉？三者，孰知正处？民 means people, 思 means damp, 寝 means sleep, 则 means then, 腰 means lower back, 姬 means suffer. 偏始 is an alternative of the medical term 偏枯, referring to hemiplegia, meaning half of one's body is paralyzed. 秋 means ill. 然 means is the same. 乎哉 is a phrase used at the end of a sentence indicating either a question or a strong emotion. 木 means tree. 处 means leaf. 则 means then. 醉力 means tremble. 寻据 means fear. 猿 means ape. 猴 means monkey. 然 means to be the same. 乎哉 again is a question mark. 三 means three. 者 means them. 三者 means the three of them. 孰 means who. 知 means know or understand. But it can also have other meanings depending on the textual context, such as appreciate or wisdom, etc. Here it just means know. 正 means right, real, or true, etc. I'm going to translate it differently according to the textual context in this passage. Here it is used as right. 处 means to live. 正处 refers to the right place to live. So the 3 lines read, when people sleep in a damp place, they suffer from hemiplegia. But are eels the same? When people live on a tree, they tremble with fear. But are the apes and monkey the same? Among the 3 of them, who knows the right place to live? 民食除患，麋鹿食见。急且甘待，吃鸭是属。是者，孰知正位？民 means people. 食 means eat. 除患 means livestock. 麋 means moose. 鹿 means deer. 食 means feed on. 见 means grass. 急且 refers to centipede. 甘 means love or love to eat. 待 means snake. 吃鸭 means fall eagle. 是 means addicted. 属 means mice. 是 means four. 者 refers to them. 是者 means four of them. 孰 means who. 知 means appreciate. 正 means real. 味 means taste. 正味 means real delicacy. So the 3 lines read, people eat livestock. Moose and deer feed on grass. Centipedes love snakes. And fall eagle are addicted to mice. Among 4 of them, who can appreciate real delicacy? 毛强离姬，人之所美也。鱼见之深入，鸟见之高飞，麋鹿见之绝奏。是者，孰知天下之正色哉？毛强 was a concubine of the king of 越国, or the Yue state, a legendary beauty from the 8th century BC. Li Ji was a beauty from the 7th century BC. She was the mother of a famous king Chong'er of Jingguo, the state of Jin from the Warring State period. Chong'er built one of the strongest kingdoms during this time. I might make a video about him in the future. Ren means people. Zhi is a linking word. 说美 means regarded as beautiful. 也 is a word indicating the end of a sentence. 鱼 means fish. 见 means see. 知 refers to the two beauties. 深 means deep. 入 means dive. 鸟 means bird. 见 means see. 知 refers to the two beauties again. 高 means high. 飞 means fly. 迷 means moose. 鹿 means deer. 见 means see. 知 refers to the two beauties again. 绝奏 means flee away. 是 means fall. 者 means them. 是者 means four of them. 孰 means who. 知 means understand. 天 means heaven. 下 means under. 天下 literally means all under the heaven, referring to the whole world. 正 means true. 色 means beauty. 斋 is a question mark. So the four lines read, Mao Qiang and Lady Li were regarded as beautiful by people. Yet, at the sight of them, fish dives into deep water, birds fly high, moose and deer flee away. Among four of them, who understand the true beauty of the world? 自我观之，言义之端，是非之徒，幡然小乱，吾能知其变。自 means from, 我 means I, 观 means see, 知 means it, 仁 means benevolence, 义 means justice, 知 means of, 端 means extreme, 是 means right, 非 means wrong, 知 means of, 途 means path, 凡 means cage, 然 means like. 幡然 means constraining people's view like cages, confining their body. 小 means confuse. 乱 means chaotic. 吾 means I. 吾能 means count. 知 means see. 其 means there. 辩 means debate or distinguish. Here it is used in both senses as debating about the distinction between benevolence and justice, or what is the right path or wrong path, etc. So the three lines read, as I see it, the debates about benevolence and justice, the fight over the right or wrong path, impose constraints on people like cages, as well as confuse them. I can't see what are the distinctions. Now, before I go on explaining what Zhuangzi means, let me first talk a little bit about the debate of Ren and Yi. By Zhuangzi's time, the moral debate was mostly carried out by Rujia or the Confucians and Mojia or the Mohist. Confucians believe that Ren is the highest moral principle. That is, a society should be organized according to kin relationships. One's first responsibility is to one's parents, most specifically to one's father and legal mother. Now, let me explain. During most time in Imperial China, a man could only have one legal wife, but as many concubines as he could afford. All the children by the concubine were legally the children of the legal wife, and the children's filial obligations were to their father and legal mother, not necessarily the biological mother. So, a man should first be loyal and take good care of his father and legal mother. The right and obligation decreases as the kinship relation become more and more distant. For example, one should mourn his father or legal mother for 3 years or 27 months, while only mourn for one's husband or wife for 1 year, or one of the paternal grandparents for 1 year, etc. One did not have obligation to mourn for maternal grandparents. However, this created a conflict between his filial obligations and the state obligations, even though the emperor was regarded metaphorically as the father of all his subjects. But most time the filial obligations took priority. For instance, if one of an official's parent dies, I mean his father or legal mother, he was obliged to leave his office for 3 years or 27 months to mourn them. The right and obligations of the state were mapped off the family structure. The magistrate of a county was often called as 父母官, or the parental official, meaning that he should care for his subjects just like parents caring for their children, meaning to help them in times of needs, such as natural disasters, crisis, or legal dispute, etc. At the same time, the commoners pay tax to the state just like one would provide for one's parents, etc. As you can see, according to Confucian moral principle, people should be treated differently according to how they are related to each other. For Mohist, this is unacceptable. Because of the discriminative treatment of people, there would be conflicts, confusions, and worst of all, wars among brothers. Mohist believed Yi, or justice, is the highest moral principle. The Mohist concept of justice is probably quite different from what we call justice today, but there is enough similarity to render this translation. According to Mohist, Yi means 兼爱, or universal love. According to this principle, people should treat each other with equal love and respect, despite how they are related to one another. The debate between these two schools were very intense. I talked about what such debate was like in my last video on philosophy, so please check it out here. Of course, my account of such debates is an oversimplified version. If you're interested to explore this kind of debate, you can contact me for more detailed discussion. Here's my email. Now, let's go back what Zhuangzi said in this passage. He listed 3 questions. What is the criteria to judge whether a place is the right place to live? What is the criteria to judge whether a food is delicious or not? What is the standard for beauty? Apparently, different species would have different views on each of these questions. However, in the last sentence, Zhuangzi made it clear that how one answers these questions is not important. What is important is that we acknowledge such differences and respect them. For Zhuangzi, 齐物, or equalizing all things, means one should not impose one's own norms or values onto others without proper consideration of the other's perspective. This is very important. Let me just unpack what Zhuangzi means in the case of beauty standard. Mao Qiang and Lady Li were regarded as beautiful by people. However, they were certainly not regarded as beautiful by fish, birds, moose, or deer. Not only they regarded the 2 beauties as ugly, perhaps even scary. This means each species is entitled to their own standard of beauty, or it is a fact that different species has their own standard of beauty. In our case, each of us certainly is entitled to have our own views of what constitutes beauty. More importantly, we might dig a little deeper about why models look the way they are. The purpose of modeling is to sell clothes, and clothes look better when the models are tall, slim, and have symmetrical faces, so that the audience would not be distracted from the clothes. So, unless you work as a representative sales for a clothes company or a model, there is really no point for any of us to look like the models. Furthermore, to look like the models not only have no benefit to an average person like you and I, it is quite harmful because most of the models are too thin to be healthy. There are also the different body types, which means different people will be healthy with different shapes and sizes. So in other words, Zhuangzi tells us that we are entitled to be ourselves, and we should respect that others are entitled to be themselves. This is a very important lesson I learned from Zhuangzi. It opens my eyes to realize that people are beautiful because who they are, not how they look like. I won't pretend that physical attractiveness is not important. Of course it is important. However, the standard for physical attractiveness is just like the attractiveness of personalities. People can be beautiful in many, many different ways, and we need to learn to appreciate beauty in its richness, depth, and diversity. When I was young, I was quite unhappy the way I looked. I thought I would be prettier if I have bigger eyes, if I'm tall with a slender figure. But my genetics determined that I have a slant Asian eyes. I'm short and a bit chubby. There is no way I can change all this. Even plastic surgery won't be of much help. I did not overcome my image anxiety until I arrived in Australia. Learning and teaching Chinese philosophy, especially Zhuangzi, make me realize that diversity is a beautiful thing. One should dare to be oneself and respect who she or he is, and respect others who are different from oneself. Such realization gives me the courage to be myself and be more open-minded on social norms and values. Of course, I no longer worry about how I look. I hope you can also learn this from Zhuangzi and appreciate who you really are and love yourself. In my next video, I'm going to continue my stories about Chen Sheng and the two great Tang generals Feng Changqing and Gao Xianzhi, and translate a poem by Du Fu and 3 poems by Chen Sheng. If you're new to my channel, please check out my other videos on classical Chinese poetry, philosophies, or medical literature. If you like the content of these videos, please click the like button and subscribe my channel. I also offer one-to-one online lessons on this subject. So if you would like to read original text, please contact me. Here's my email address. Otherwise, thank you for viewing my video, and I'll see you next time.